Welcome to episode 2 of the Warframe Beginner Guide series. Last time we started a brand new account, made it to Venus and reached Master Rank 1, and we also joined a clan, which allowed us to start crafting our clan key and also getting ready for our first companion. So if you missed anything, feel free to check out the last episode, and if you're enjoying the series, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. I'm Tipsy, and today we'll be continuing our beginner guide series. Just like before, this episode will be split into chapters, so feel free to jump around as needed, and in today's episode we will be covering the following topics as you see here. But before we dive in, we left off with the companion crafting and some homework from last episode, which was farming the spy mission on Earth a few times, and if you didn't manage to get the right mods or still feel a bit confused, don't worry, we will be covering the basics of Earth spy missions in the second chapter. Last episode we started crafting a few things, including the Taxon companion, and the reason the Taxon is so important early on is that it gives you access to the mod called Vacuum, which basically increase your loot pickup radius around you. And as you can see in the clip here, it automatically picks up any nearby loot, making resource gathering much easier. This significantly improves the quality of life when farming in Warframe, ensuring you don't have to chase down every drop yourself. So let's start by claiming our Taxon companion from the Foundry. If you have any other items ready to claim, feel free to grab them now, but you don't necessarily have to. Think of the Foundry as your second storage container while you work on getting more slots for Warframe weapons and companions. Also, if you have your clan key finished up, go ahead and claim that too, as we will cover that in the next chapter. And with Taxon claimed, head over to the arsenal and equip it into the companion tab. Since Taxon is a sentinel companion, you will also need to equip it with a sentinel weapon, which it comes with, so just make sure it has something to shoot with, and you're almost ready to go. Now that Taxon is equipped, head into the upgrade section to mod it. Since Taxon has almost no capacity at this point, remove all mods and only equip Vacuum. Once it levels up and gains more capacity, you can start adding other mods, but for now Vacuum is probably the most important one for quality of life. With Vacuum equipped, you're all set to go. Just jump into any mission and Taxon will follow you around, automatically picking up any loot within its radius. And upgrading the mod will also increase its radius, so keep that in mind, as this makes farming much smoother. Later on we will talk about Beast Companions, which has their own version of Vacuum called Fetch. These companions also allow for a mod that gives bonus resources, making grinding a bit better, but we will cover them when it's time to change out. With that done, you're ready to continue your adventure in the next chapter, and we will go over the homework from last episode and break down everything you need to know about spy missions on Earth. So if you still haven't gotten your Volcanic Edge or Fissures Frost, now is the time to follow along. Last time we ended the episode by talking about the homework in the spy mission Cambria. When successfully completing all 3 spy vaults, you have a chance to earn some really strong early game mods. The ones we are looking for in particular are the Volcanic Edge and the Fissures Frost, which will make your melee weapons feel a little bit stronger. So how do spy missions work? Let's break it down and make it easy for you to successfully clear the vaults and get a better understanding of how it works. First, it's important to understand the rotations, as these are important in Warframe because they determine which rewards are given in most missions, and in spy missions the rotation system works as follows. Rotation A, the lowest reward tier, complete 1 vault and fail the other 2. Rotation B is the medium reward tier, complete 2 vaults and fail the last one. And lastly is Rotation C, the highest reward tier, which is successfully completing all 3 vaults and extracting without any issues. And since we are after the Volcanic Edge and the Fissures Frost, we need Rotation C rewards, meaning all 3 vaults must be completed successfully. And as seen on the screen, these are the rewards which can drop from the different rotations, as you will get each rotation reward as you complete them. So a C rotation run will also give you the B and A rewards. Think of it as a reward gotten per vault you open. And now that we understand how rewards work, let's have a look at how to efficiently clear all the spy vaults in the Grenier tile set. And from my knowledge, there can only be 3 different vaults, as I only encountered 3 while doing this. In the first vault with the water slide in it, there's a few ways to reach the console, but I usually take the tube just above the waterfall here, and from there you can jump straight into the console room, take out the robot at the surveying console, and then simply hack it to complete the vault. The second vault is the waterfall tube, where you basically will start at the bottom of this crater and you will need to find your way up to the console. You can usually just look up and bullet jump to the ledge right above you and then jump to the console room door from there, which is located just at the top of the stairs. Hack your way into the room and then hack the console to complete the vault. Lastly, in the water flowing vault, you will need to hack 3 different consoles to lower the water level before you can hack into the main room to complete the vault. The first console is right as you enter, but there's usually a guard patrolling this area, so just take him out out and hack the console. Next up, you want to head for the waterfall you can see ahead of you and basically run through it, as there's a console right on the other side, and you want to hack this console to lower the water even more. Now just jump back to the small balcony just outside the waterfall and hack the third console, as this will lower the water so you can actually access the main console room. Then just jump down and hack the door and enter the room, and then hack the console to complete the vault. With that done, you can now extract from the mission and you will receive identified rewards, which has a chance to drop different mods. The ones we are looking for are the Volcanic Edge and the Viscerous Frost. Feel free to run this until you have all the mods, or you could come back here once you actually want to focus a bit more on a melee build. Next up, we have clans in Warframe, because they come with various benefits and are almost mandatory if you want to have a better experience. They provide a place to trade with other players and offer access to various Warframe and weapons, depending on how much research the clan has completed. So to get started, you will need to join a clan and craft the clan key, which we covered in the last episode. Just head to your foundry and claim your clan key if you haven't already done this, as this will allow you to explore your clan's dojo and take full advantages of its benefits. With the clan key claimed, you can now head to the navigation station or use the fast travel option in the clan interface to enter the dojo. On the navigation menu, you will find the dojo at the bottom left side of the screen. Here you can see featured clans as well as your own clan hub at the center. Just click on the clan and fast travel there. And with that, you are now inside the clan dojo. Remember, you must be in a clan and have the clan key crafted to be able to use the clan's facilities. Once inside, the layout of the dojo will vary depending on how much the clan has researched and built. A completely new clan may not have all the facilities or blueprints available for purchase, whereas the older and more established clan might have everything unlocked for its members. So let's go over the different places and things you can find in the dojo. To get started, open the gear wheel menu to see what's accessible to you, and I will walk through everything from here. The first two options are pretty obvious, as they include the navigation and arsenal station, just like in your Arbiter, so if you want to change your loadout or just use the navigation menu from the dojo, that is a possibility here. The next one is the trading post, which is basically the primary place for trading in Warframe, as the only alternative to this is the bazaar hub. And by clicking on the trading post, you will be teleported to your clan's trading station no matter where it is. Here you will be able to trade with other players as long as you have two-factor authentication enabled and are at least mastery rank 2. You will also have to be in the same instance as the other player you are trading with. You can either invite your friend or the person you're trading with to your clan or visit their clan to trade. It is also possible to do all this in the bazaar. But keep in mind that in the bazaar you don't have a trading post, you will have to open up a trade and people will then come and offer a trade to you. If you're looking for a full deep dive into trading in Warframe and Warframe's marketplace, I have a full guide link below. We will also cover trading in this beginner guide series once we reach a point where it becomes relevant. However, since we are not yet mastery rank 2 and don't have anything worth trading, we will save that for a later chapter. Next up, we have the clan vault, which basically serves as the treasury of the clan and the alliance if your clan is in one. Here you can donate resources, credits and decorations for the clan, and the leaders can then use these resources to build and research in the clan. But keep in mind that anything deposited into the vault is permanently locked inside the clan, as you cannot withdraw resources once they have been donated, so contributions are purely for the benefits of the clan. You can also browse the current decorations and resources the clan has stored, as well as donate to allied clans if your clan is part of an alliance. If you hold a higher rank in a clan, you will also be able to have access to the auto contribute button, which basically allows you to automatically contribute resources when building or decorating, which we'll cover in the next step. And the next one is the decorate mode, where you can craft and place decorations if you have the necessary permissions in the clan. Most decorations are purely cosmetics, but some, like the treasury or the trading post, serve functional purposes. You can also use the arrival gate to set a spawn point for players in the dojo. Keep in mind that decorations have a crafting time and do require a decent amount of resources, which scales with your clan's tier. There's a lot you can do with decorations, but I'm not the best person to showcase dojo design. If this is something that interested you, I highly recommend looking into dojo decoration guides for inspiration. And now we are getting to one of the biggest perks of actually being in a clan, the research labs. These labs give you access to various blueprints, including Warframe's weapons and other useful items, which you can find and research. You can enter different labs and access their consoles where you will have options to basically replicate blueprints for credits. There's a lot of different blueprints available, but keep in mind that these are just blueprints. Once you acquire one, you will still have to craft it in your foundry using the required resources. There's two different types of blueprints you can get here. First one is the infinite use blueprint, which is basically marked with the infinity icon at the top right. You will only need to purchase this once and then you can craft it as many times as you want. And then there is the normal single use blueprints, which disappear after crafting just normal blueprints in Warframe. A quick tip while we're in the Tenno labs, I highly recommend grabbing the Cypher blueprints, as Cyphers let you auto complete hacking terminals, which is super useful for missions even if we can't craft them yet, as we need resources. This is an infinite blueprint, so just get it. But remember, all blueprints must be researched by the clan before you can replicate them. As you can see here, the only blueprint left in our clan is the squad health blueprint, which is extremely expensive at the max level of clans. This is because research costs scale with the clan size, so the larger the clan, the more expensive research becomes, so keep that in mind if you're considering starting your own clan. Definitely take some time to explore the different research labs and see what they have to offer. There's plenty of warframes and weapons you can grind for, and they provide a solid amount of mastery rank XP to help you level up over time. And we will be visiting the dojo often as we earn more credits to unlock more weapons and frames from here. And lastly, let's quickly go over the remaining features of the dojo. We have the transporter, which are basically teleporters that the clan has built, and you can use these for fast travel around the dojo. Next up is the dry dock, which is a later game mechanic that we will cover once we get to it to avoid spoilers. If you're curious, feel free to check this out yourself, but we will come back to this in a later chapter. Then you have the setup shop. This functions similarly to the trading post, except here you can set the items you want to trade and other players can then walk up and make an offer on the items. The Crimson branch, this is for a later game system called the Kuva Liches. This station allows you to trade captured liches with other players, and again we will cover this in detail later on in the series. The dojo do have a ton of features, but these are the primary ones you should be familiar with as a new player. Some clans do have parkour rooms or interesting areas to explore, so feel free to look around and see if you can find anything cool in your dojo. If you own your own clan, you can also build rooms and structure the dojo however you like. It's a bit complex to get into here, but if it's something that you are interested in, let me know and I can consider making a separate guide on it. With that covered, you should now have a better understanding of how clans works and the benefits they do offer. So if you are not in a clan currently, I will highly recommend trying to find a clan and join it. Once you are back in your Obiter, you can continue following the quest log, which will have you complete E-Gate on Venus, so just go ahead and start that mission. While running missions on Venus, be sure to be on the lookout for polymer cases, as you will need a decent amount of polymer bundles later on. But don't stress too much about farming these now, as you will naturally pick them up as you play. Also, if you do come across any frost leaves, feel free to scan a few, as this will make a quest in the future a little bit easier. And if you have been following my series and have just reached E-Gate, you might have noticed that the enemies are a little bit stronger than they are on Earth. If you have been running the spy missions a few times and maybe picked up one or both of the dual stat mods, now would be a good time to actually upgrade your arsenal a bit. So after completing E-Gate, head for the arsenal and let's take a look. For your melee weapons, just equip some mods to increase the damage a bit, and make sure to slot in either the Victor's Frost or the Volcanic Edge. If you do have both, feel free to add both. This should almost double your melee weapon damage, and later on, once we have more endo to upgrade mods and start building proper setups, we will go more in depth on how to actually do builds. For the latter, I will just throw on Heated Charge to add radiation and some extra damage. For the parries, equip whatever mod you can and maybe upgrade something like the Stormbringer here, or maybe something else. And again, this is just early game, and the mods I'm upgrading are the ones I will probably be using a little bit later on while progressing in the game. And don't worry if you don't have the same mods as I do at this point in the game, it won't really affect that much until we reach MR5 or so and we have mods to actually do a little build. Lastly, for the frame, we can equip something called the Aura, called Dreamer's Bond in this case, as seen here. This Aura is a different thing. Instead of costing capacity, it will actually give you extra capacity, so keep that in mind that Aura and Stance mods are usually worth maxing out first, as they will give you extra capacity on your frame or weapon. For now, I'm just throwing on some random mods since we don't really have anything to upgrade and useful at the moment. As you progress through Venus and other planets, be sure to check out your weapons levels every now and then to upgrade or change out your loadout as you get new mods, and level your gear to gain more mastery XP. And feel free to change out equipment that has reached level 30, as you have gained the maximum mastery XP from that equipment, and you can then level something else to keep your mastery progress going. With your loadout updated, you can now continue onwards to Fortuna. But before you head to Fortuna and explore Venus, I recommend checking out the Mastery Junction goals. Teresa Fossa has a special requirement here. Instead of just completing the mission, you will need to stay for 10 waves, so keep that in mind before exploring any planet to note that the next Junction goals, so you know what to look out for while progressing the planet. Also, some of the main quest lines might take you to a mission, so if you don't want to double complete them, just stick to the main quest line for now or just follow my route. Now it's time to visit Fortuna in the new quest Vox Solaris, so just go ahead and click on Fortuna, and if it says start days as it does for me, that's just because it's event currently, but you can also click on the new quest Vox Solaris on the top right to enter Fortuna. As we live together, I highly recommend watching the intro video to this area as it is just cinema. And if this guide has been helpful so far, please consider dropping a like as it really helps out. Also let me know in the comments what you would like to see in one of the next episodes. And then once you enter Fortuna, you need to find Edico, who is the Fortuna Consu, which will basically be responsible for giving out bounty, so just run forward until you find the little blue checkmark where Edico is located. Converse with her to continue the quest and follow the steps until you reach Obvalis, which is the open world area, and you will have to complete a mini bounty similar to what you did on Earth in Cetus. In the first part here, you'll need to find some caches in the area, as these can be located by the smoke coming from them, so just run around and find them and it shouldn't take too long. Then head to the next location where you will have to attack a drone and then defend it until you have killed a certain number of enemies to complete this step of the bounty. After that, return to Fortuna with the fast travel to gate and extract. Then you will have to talk to some residents in Fortuna before heading off again. This time you'll have to do some corpus hacking in a little hangar and then also investigate a camp to save some people. Just follow the yellow markers and complete the steps of the mission to extract. Once back in Fortuna, you will be sent on another part of the quest where you'll need to do an excavation type mission in Obvalis. Here you'll have to kill a certain enemy with a battery on its back, pick that battery up and bring it back to the excavator to power it up until it finishes its timer. Once that is done, head back to Fortuna and just wait for the lift to work again, which might take a little bit of time. You can then decide whether or not to help Fortuna now or return to this part of the mission at a later point. I will do it now, so just talk to Edico and just say you will help and head back out to Obvalis, where you will need to defend the main door until you can return to Fortuna. Then talk to Edico again and she will send you on yet another mission in Obvalis. This time it's a skate mission, but it will be the last one, so just get to the objective and defend it. Also heads up, you can grind on railings if you hold the crouch button while jumping on them. With that done, you have now unlocked the K-Driver skateboard and gained access to Fortuna, which is the main hub of the open world of Obvalis and the Solaris United Syndicate. Upon completion, you will also receive a Gauda blueprint, which is a pretty decent frame, and I also do have a recent guide on how to farm her for Tenos a little further in the game. And now you can go equip the K-Drive and just head to your arsenal to find a location in your gear wheel for your K-Drive to be in. And you can then use this to traverse the open world areas until we get our Archwing, which will take a little bit of time. With Fortuna unlocked, we can continue onwards, because at this state in the game, open world areas, especially when playing solo, can be pretty difficult, so we will come back once we have a better build suited for this type of content. The next goal is reaching Mercury, but along the way we can also start farming for our first new frame, Rhino. However, keep in mind that we will only be farming Rhino's part for now and not craft him, as to craft him we will need to reach Mars and Deimos, since some required resources won't drop until then. If you prefer, you can skip farming Rhino for now and return to this step later on. Personally, I will be doing it now, and then once we reach Deimos, we can then begin crafting him. Now just follow the quest notes that lead towards the Mercury Junction and the mission called Fossa, where Rhino can be farmed in. The mission Fossa is also the final requirement for the Junction, assuming you have completed the 10 waves on Teresa and also completed the Vox Solaris mission. And with Fossa reached, it is time to farm a full set of Rhino. Keep in mind that you'll need 3 parts: the neuropics, the system and the cases, and each time you complete the mission there is a chance to drop one of these parts. You might get lucky and finish in just 3 runs, or it could take you 20 plus attempts. So be prepared to grind this mission a bit if you want Rhino, as he is a strong tanky Warframe, especially early on. Then to farm Rhino we will be running the Fossa mission, which isn't a standard mission, and I will go over the mission to make farming it easier, but if you don't want any spoilers, I highly recommend pausing the video here and completing the mission once before resuming the video. That way you can experience the mission for yourself first. So the mission is a little bit special, as Fossa is an assassination mission, meaning we'll be facing a mini boss in this mission, so let's just start the mission up. Once inside the mission, just run for the objective where you will be facing the Jackal, and as soon as you start the fight, the Jackal will spawn and you can then begin the battle. So first, let's go over how to attack the Jackal, and then we'll break down its mechanics and how to avoid them to actually survive the fight. The Jackal is normally immune to damage, so you'll have to attack its weak spots, which are its legs. Simply destroy all 4 legs, and once that is done, the Jackal will then do a special move and become vulnerable afterwards. And at this point, you can then walk up to it and perform a special attack using your interact button X on PC. This will also be indicated by a small red marker above its body. You will need to repeat this process 4 times before its health is fully depleted and you have killed the Jackal. Now let's go over its 4 main mechanics of this fight, which are the laser wall, the shockwave, the rockets and the electric fence. The laser wall mechanic, every once in a while after destroying its legs, the Jackal will fly into the air and begin rotating, firing a red laser wall outwards. To avoid taking damage, you will have to run around the Jackal to stay ahead of the laser. Once the laser then turns blue, you can safely walk through it. However, while it's red, it will deal damage. Sometimes the laser changes direction, so keep an eye out for that and adjust accordingly. This phase will normally take around 15 seconds. And the shockwave mechanic happens right after the Jackal exits the laser wall mode, so be ready to jump as soon as the laser wall disappears to avoid getting knocked back and taking bonus damage. A good way to time this is to count to 15 seconds when the laser wall starts, and you will have to be in the air around the 15 seconds markers when the Jackal will then crash down, triggering the shockwave, so just be in the air while that happens. Additionally, while the Jackal is on the ground, it may raise one of its legs to trigger a shockwave. You will just need to jump over this expanding circle to avoid taking knockback and damage. And the next mechanic is the rocket mechanic, where the Jackal can mark red areas around the arena. These indicate where rockets will land shortly, so avoid standing in these red marked areas to prevent getting hit. And lastly is the electric fence mechanic, where later on in the fight, electric fences may spawn around the arena, so try to avoid walking into them or standing too close to them. If you get hit by the shockwave knockback, you might be thrown into the fence and take even more damage. However, you can still bullet jump over these fences to move around the arena safely. Overall, this shouldn't be too difficult. Once you learn the mechanics, you might die a few times figuring them out, but you have a few revives to complete the mission. If you're still struggling with the fight, I highly recommend upgrading your frames, shields and health to make the fight even easier. Then once you have defeated the Jackal, you will be rewarded with one of the Rhino's parts. As you see here, I got the neuropics. Now you'll just have to repeat this mission until you have one of each part. I still need one of the systems and one of the cases. And after 6 runs of this, I actually have all 3 parts, where I got 1 cases, 2 systems and 3 neuropics. Unfortunately, we can't craft Rhino just yet, as we still require some resources that can only be found on later planets. However, we are not far from it. If you already have access to Mars or Cambion Drift, you should already have access to everything needed to craft Rhino. And if you want a more in-depth guide on how to actually get Rhino and all the resources, feel free to check the guide down below. So for now, we'll just have to wait a bit, but with this, all of his parts are collected and we don't have to worry about farming him again until we unlock a special mechanic later in the game. But before we end this chapter, we need one last thing, which is the Rhino main blueprint. To get this, you have to open the market in your Obiter and purchase Rhino's main blueprint for 35,000 credits. And that's how easy it is to get the main blueprint and basically farm all of Rhino's parts. With that, you now have everything ready to craft Rhino. Aside from a few missing resources, the plastides can be farmed in the Cambion Drift by breaking cysts. I have a guide covering this if interested, and the gallium and the morphics, while being a little bit more rare, can be found in Mars missions. And with the Rhino parts secured, we can now access the Mercury Junction and continue our adventure. With the mission fuzzer completed, you should have everything ready for the Mercury Junction. If you still need to complete some goals, just go ahead and finish them to unlock the Junction. At this point, the Junction fights are still not too difficult, so just head in and fight the Spectre just like the last Junction. This time you'll be fighting Rhino, the frame we have just farmed in the last chapter. He will charge at you and buff his armor, but overall this fight should be fairly easy. And with that, you now have access to 2 new quests and Mercury as a planet. But before you start clearing out nodes, I highly recommend starting the Once Awake quest, as it will guide you around Mercury, so just go ahead and start the quest at the Codex station. Follow the quest and complete the required nodes. This will take you through a few missions, and once completed, you will be rewarded with a heat sword and gain access to the Mars Junction, as you should have all the goals completed for Mars. If you haven't completed the nodes before the Mars Junction, just go ahead and finish them real quick so you can actually enter Mars Junction. And if you spot fragments like these in missions, make sure to scan them, as you only need a certain amount per planet to actually unlock some extra lore in the game. Now that we are ready to head into the Mars Junction, once again, this is a fairly easy junction, so you should be able to defeat the Spectre without much trouble. And completing this junction unlocks something important, which is the Void Relics segment. Once installed, this grants access to one of Warframe's core systems, the Fissure missions, where you can grind for prime versions of weapons and frames, and these prime parts can also be traded for platinum, which is the premium currency of Warframe. Inside the station, you will then be able to see all your Void Relics you have collected so far. These relics act as kind of a loot box. When you crack them open, you will receive one of the blueprints from the relic, which can be common, uncommon or rare. You can also upgrade the relics using void traces to increase the chances of getting uncommon and rare drops. Now if you head to the navigation, you will also be able to see a new tab in the top right called the Void Fissure missions. This shows all active Fissure missions where your relic can be used in. Keep in mind that relics are consumed upon completion of the mission. And I highly recommend doing Fissure missions in an open squad for a few reasons. More players equal more enemies, meaning you can collect more reactants faster, and reactants are needed to actually open your relics. And if you don't collect 10 of these while completing the mission, you will not be able to open the relic at the end, as you will need to collect 10 before extracting, or you won't receive any rewards from the relic. In a full squad, once the mission is completed, you also get access to choose one of the rewards one of your teammates actually have gotten. So you will be able to choose any of the 4 relics that was cracked open in the mission as a reward. So that means if someone cracks open a rare prime part, you can choose that as a reward, as everyone in the squad can also select that as well. Since Fissure missions are a core part of Warframe, you will be running a lot of them as you progress in the game. Keep in mind that public squads tends to speedrun these missions, so expect to be running behind other players while gathering the loot. We will cover farming Fissure missions more efficiently in a later chapter once we actually reach the Void, where we can start farming relics, and that's when we will dive deeper into prime farming and the rewards they offer. If you want a more in-depth guide on primes and how it works, I have a primes explained video you can check out, which can be found below. At this stage in the game, we will be able to take a Mastery Rank 2 test where we will be using our sidearm. But before starting, make sure your sidearm is equipped and has some mods to help you complete the test. I also upgrade my raw damage a little bit before starting. Once you're ready, start the rank up test and eliminate the waves of enemies using your sidearm. Just shoot your way to Mastery Rank 2, simple as that. For reaching Mastery Rank 2, you will gain 1 loadout slot, which allows you to save a full build including your frame, weapons and companions. If you have 2 different setups you like to use, you can save them as loadouts here. This will allow you to simply swap between those, so you don't have to manually swap weapons and warframes every time. You can just select your saved loadout and it will change into that loadout. Also remember to equip your companion once you make a new loadout. And as you see here, I now have a 23-hour cooldown before I can take my next Mastery Rank test, so keep that in mind and do your Mastery test as soon as they are available early on. Once you reach MR16, you should have innate access to everything in the game though. For me, I can just level up at the end of each episode since I go a little bit slower due to recording and editing the videos, so the cooldown don't really affect me, but if you're blazing through the game, just do them as soon as you can to avoid delaying rank up. And with March reached and achieving Mastery Rank 2 or higher, we should be able to begin the Archwing quest, as this will grant us access to the Archwing, which can be used in open world areas and also certain missions. To start the quest, head to the Codex table and begin the Archwing quest. If you don't see it, just click on the main mission and it should take you to all your quests. Start the quest and follow the objectives to gather all of the Odanta Archwing parts in a few different missions. And once you have collected all the pieces, you will be able to go to your foundry and craft the Odanta. Each part will take 1 minute to craft, and the main blueprint will also take 1 minute to craft. Keep in mind that later Archwings won't take 1 minute, as this is a quest craft and not a normal one. Then continue with the quest and soon you will be able to deploy your Archwing, and the first thing I would do is lower the sensitivity, as the sensitivity is completely broken the first time around. And with that you should be able to look more comfortably around the area. I also recommend not rushing towards the extraction point, instead take your time to eliminate all the enemies along the way, so you have a chance to actually drop some Archwing mods for you. And once the quest is complete, you will have unlocked the vehicle tab in your arsenal, where you can see your Archwing and the Archwing weapon, as well as your K-drive. However, keep in mind that the K-drive is a standard model, so it won't show here, and you can craft other K-drives later on, which you can then equip and mod like the Archwing and equip it here. With that, you now have your Archwing ready to use, and you can do Archwing missions. But we are not completely done yet. We also want to have the ability to actually use the Archwing in the open world areas. But for that we will need to obtain the Archwing launcher segment and to gather a good amount of resources we don't have access to as of yet. So for now, let's just get the blueprint and be prepared for when we can actually craft it. For that we will head to to the navigation menu and travel to the Dojo, where you will be able to use the gear wheel menu to go to the Tenno Labs and replicate the Archwing launcher segment research. Once you have the necessary resources, you can then craft the segment and install it in your ship. And then after that, you will be able to craft something called the launcher module, where you will be able to equip that onto your gear wheel and then actually use that to summon your Archwing in the open world areas, such as Orvalis, the Plains of Eidolon or Cambion Drift. If you are looking for ways to farm Oxium, as you will need a lot early on, you could do Earth bounties as they have a small chance to reward you with Oxium, or you could farm certain missions on Jupiter. The main way of getting this Oxium is the enemy that can spawn in basically any Corpus mission called the Oxium Osprey. Once they are killed, they have a chance to drop Oxium in various amounts. Once we reach the point in the series where we can actually craft it and farm for it, we will continue this chapter. And now, by having reached Mars and Mastery Rank 2 and unlocked the Archwing, we are in a good spot for the next episode. But as always, let's have some homework for the next episode, which I will also be doing off screen. First is focus on finishing up Earth, Venus and Mercury, completing all the nodes you haven't completed yet. Completing these missions will reward you with mods, resources and affinity for your weapons and warframes, but also a small amount of mastery XP and help you progress towards the steel path. And while working on these uncompleted nodes, you can begin crafting the Burston and the Heat Sword if you already reached Mastery Rank 3, as these will give you some new weapons to try out. You can also try and switch out your weapons once they reach level 30, as this will allow you to level something else. Especially try out the MK weapons, as they only cost credits and don't have a crafting time, so it is basically just buying a weapon and trying it out, but you will have to level them all to level 30 at some point anyways. So basically just level any of your weapons to level 30 to complete the mastery for the weapon and get all the mastery XP it can yield. Also, while doing this, you will also gain Endo, so make sure to max out the vacuum on your Taxon to ensure you're gathering all those sweet resources and loot around you. Don't forget to work on your Nightwave as well, as there could be some interesting rewards waiting for you in there. There's also decent mods and you can also buy aura mods from it, so definitely have a look at it at some point. And that's it for the second episode of the Beginner Guide series. I hope you found it useful. If you haven't watched the first episode yet, I highly recommend checking it out, as there is some more tips and tricks that could be helpful even if you're already past this stage in the game. In the next episode, we will continue our journey to Mars and Deimos and take a look at the next open world area. We will also focus on gathering the resources needed to craft our Rhino Warframe, so we will get ready for that in the next episode where the real farming begins. And if you got any questions or want more Warframe tips, don't forget to like and subscribe for future content, and check out my other videos for more Warframe guides and tips. We also do have a Discord server where you can join a Warframe clan, so feel free to hop in there and become a part of the community. Stay tuned, stay tipsy, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.